Hi, Grandma Abuela here again. Today I'm going to finish talking to you about how to protect your children from sexual abuse. Again, I wish that I had a magic wand or a magic formula that would 100% keep your children safe, but I don't. However, the information that I'm going to tell you in this video, I really think will help mitigate the chances, lessen the chances of something like that happening to your children. I talked a little bit about how sex offenders groom the children in the last video and about how they manipulate the kids into keeping quiet. I think that, first of all, it's really important that we have an open conversation with our children, that we tell them that their bodies are their bodies and that no one has the right to touch them or make them feel uncomfortable. I know that even when my kids were very, very little, when I would bathe them, I would tell them, you know, nobody has the right to touch your body if you don't want them to. I would tell them, you know, even mommy, if I do something that makes you uncomfortable when I'm giving you a bath, you need to tell me so I don't do that again. If you don't like how I'm bathing you, you need to tell me and I'll stop bathing you that way. As they got old enough to be able to wash their own private parts, I would say, you know, you need to wash this part yourself. I'd tell them what to do so that they could get clean, but I'd have them do it themselves. And I'd say, another thing I would teach them is don't let anybody touch you in a place that your swimsuit covers. And that was a really good rule of thumb for the kids because they knew what their swimming suit covered. And so that seemed to help. And I would also tell them, you know, you don't need to see anybody's private parts. You don't need to have people showing you their bodies on their parts of their body that a swimming suit covers. And so it's important that that you have those conversations even when they're very, very small, because like I said, sexual abuse can take place when the kids are very, very little. Another thing that I think is important is that you let the kids know that they can tell somebody if there's something going on. One thing that I like to tell my children is that there are two types of secrets. There are good secrets and there are bad secrets. Now, good secrets are the fun kind. Good secrets are birthday secrets and Christmas secrets. Good secrets are the kind where when someone finds out the secret in the end, everybody's going to be smiling and they're going to be happy. So we don't want to tell birthday secrets or Christmas secrets because those are fun surprises. We don't want to say what we gave somebody, what we're giving someone for their birthday or for Christmas. We want to wait so that they can be surprised on Christmas Day or on their birthday when they open that package. Those are good secrets. Those are happy secrets. And then there's the other kind of secret where someone tells you that you need to keep quiet, but you feel uncomfortable staying quiet about it. They might tell you that, you know, that you need to keep quiet because you'll be hurt, or because they will be hurt, or someone will be disappointed, or they'll pay you to keep it quiet. Any of those kinds of secrets, those don't sound like very good secrets. If it's a secret that makes you feel uncomfortable or unhappy keeping it, if it makes you feel kind of sick inside, then those are secrets that need to be told. And I think it's really important that kids know the difference between good and happy secrets and secrets that are not meant to be kept, because there are secrets that should be told. The next thing is, I think it's important for all children to have somebody that they can trust, that they can talk to. And so I always encouraged my children, if someone says something or does something that makes you feel uncomfortable, tell an adult about it. Tell mommy, tell your dad, tell an aunt, tell an uncle, tell a teacher, tell a friend, tell somebody, tell an adult that you trust. Tell them what's going on. I did not ever say, tell me. I mean, I did. I said, you can tell me anything, but I made sure that they understood there were other options, that I wasn't the only option of who they had to tell, because maybe a secret like that is something that they just don't feel comfortable sharing with their mother. Maybe it's something that they feel would be better telling their father or even an older sibling or an aunt or an uncle. Now, caution there, if they're telling an older sibling who's probably going to be a child, as the kids get older, you need to be sure and tell them that if they are told secrets that are uncomfortable secrets about other people, they still should probably share that with an adult. For example, if a younger sibling or a friend comes and confides in them that there's abuse going on in the home, they need to feel like they can go tell somebody so that this can be taken care of. So it's really important that the kids understand that there are options of who they can tell. So again, tell mom, tell dad, tell an aunt, tell an uncle, tell a cousin, tell a teacher, tell the neighbor, tell your friends' parents, tell somebody, but don't keep bad secrets. The next thing that I learned, which was really interesting, is that we need to be careful what sort of movies we're allowing in our homes, what sort of media. And that may seem like a no-brainer to some of you, and to others you might think, what difference does it make? I was really, really amazed when I was teaching this class of boys who were sex offenders. Now, I think that every single boy in both classes had been sexually abused during their lifetime, except for maybe one. It seems like there might have been one who was not. But interestingly, with the exception of that one, and he was really a different case, so I don't include him, but all of the others, every single one of them had the grooming started during a movie that was inappropriate. It was late at night. They were watching the movie with whoever the person was that victimized them, and a sex scene came on, or a nude scene. And this is just a little kid, so I don't know why a small child would be watching it. Sometimes they were as young as 4, 5, 6. Sometimes they were a little older, 9 or 10, but sometimes really, really young. And this scene would come on, and the person watching the show with them would get a blanket and throw it over the top of them, and then they would start to hold their hand, and that would be the beginning of the grooming. And then in a couple nights they'd watch another show, or the same show that was but something with an inappropriate part, and it would start out with the blanket and the hand holding, and then the person would start doing a little bit of rubbing and fondling, and then having the kid fondle them, and so on, until it, and it just escalated from there. And the interesting thing was that when these boys became sex offenders themselves, the large majority of them started out the same way. They didn't even intend to offend another child. They were watching the movie. It was late at night. The movie put the idea in their head, and they started grooming the child who was watching the show with them. So at that point, I put a lock on a lot of the movie channels that we had been getting into our home. I put locks on so that these certain shows couldn't be on TV at all, because I just didn't allow it in my home, because I didn't want anything like that to happen, because I realized that some sex offenders have not been offended as children. Some of them haven't, a lot have, but some of them haven't. I realized that it opened doors that I didn't want to have open in our home. For two reasons. I did not want to have any of my own children victimized, but at the same point in time, I didn't want any of my children to become offenders themselves. So that was something that I put into place in my home. I was very, very careful about the type of media that was allowed in the home when the children were younger. Another thing that I realized when I was teaching this class is that sometimes we as parents set our children up for failure. We set them up to be victims, not just victims of sexual abuse, but victims of being manipulated, victims of any kind of abuse, by the things that we instruct them. And I didn't realize this until I was teaching that class. And the boys were talking about their own victimization, about when someone offended them, about when someone sexually abused them. And they said that sometimes the person who abused them was like someone who would be babysitting them, maybe not necessarily the neighbor babysitting, but an uncle, a cousin, someone who is older. And the words as the parent would go out the door would be like, okay, sweetie, listen to what your cousin says. Do what your cousin tells you to do. Now, how is a child supposed to take that? You have a kid who's 4, 5, 6 years old, and they love mom. Mom knows best. Mom's always saying, I want what's best for you. And mom says, hey, this person's going to be watching you, and I want you to do whatever they tell you to do. I want you to mind them. I want you to be obedient to them. What's the kid supposed to do? They want to be obedient to their mom. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want mom to come home and have the babysitter, the cousin, the uncle, the neighbor, whoever it is, say, yeah, well, he wasn't obedient. He didn't do what you told him. he didn't do what he was supposed to do. They don't want that to happen because they want to remain in mom's good graces. Maybe mom even said, hey, if you're good for the babysitter, if you're good for your cousin, if you're good for your uncle, or for whoever it is, if you're good for them, we'll go out for ice cream when I get home, or we'll watch a TV show when I get home, we'll play a game when I get home, whatever it is. A lot of times we reward them as parents if they're obedient, if they do what they're told to do by the person who's watching after them. Once I learned that that's what parents say, and I had been saying it to my own kids, I'd drop them off at a babysitter's, or I'd have someone come over to watch them, and I'd say, hey, do what so-and-so tells you to do. Be obedient. You do what you're supposed to do. They'll tell you what to do, and you do it. You follow their directions. Once I learned this lesson, I quit saying that. 100% quit saying that. Instead, my message became, and this would be before I dropped them off or before the sitter came over, I would say, now, I'm going out, I'm going to work, I'm going wherever, and I'll be back at this time. Now, if this person asks you to do something that you don't feel is right, that you don't feel comfortable doing, you don't have to do it. And if they get mad about it, you tell them to tell me about it, what it is that you wouldn't do, and I'll deal with it when I get home. And I made sure that my children understood that they did not have to be 100% obedient to the babysitter. Now, I did say if they tell you don't play in the street, you've got to obey that. If they tell you it's time for bed, you've got to obey that. You've got to obey the basic rules that mom has for you. But if they ask you to do something that you don't feel is safe or comfortable, you don't have to do that. And I tried to teach them the differences in those. Like maybe they've fixed you something to eat and you don't like what they fixed, and they say you have to eat this. No, you don't have to eat something you don't like. You don't have to. You can choose to starve. Maybe that's the choice they'll give you. You either eat this or you're going to starve till your mom gets home. Well, that's your choice. And no, you don't have to eat it. And when I get home, if I feel they're being unreasonable, I'll go ahead and I'll feed you something. So they learn simple things like that because they shouldn't be forced to eat something they shouldn't want to eat. Maybe they're asking you to play a game and you don't want to play the game because it's not a fun game for you. You don't have to play the game. And that's a really important thing to do because sometimes these sex offenders call it a game of some sort and they want to play a game with the victim. Well, maybe the victim doesn't want to play the game, and the game might be something that's very innocent. Maybe they're not trying to offend them at all. Maybe they're just like, hey, let's play Monopoly, and the kid's like, ugh, not Monopoly, it lasts forever, and it's boring, and I don't like counting money. Okay, they don't have to play Monopoly if they don't want to. Or maybe the game is checkers. I don't want to play checkers because it's too easy, or it's too hard, you beat me every time. Okay, the kid doesn't have to play checkers, but maybe the game's something not as innocent. Maybe the game's something that involves some fondling, some touching, some exhibitionism. Should the kid have to play? No. So you tell the kid, you do not have to play a game that you don't feel comfortable doing. If this babysitter, if this cousin, uncle, aunt, whoever, older sibling, whoever it is, if they're wanting you to do something that you don't feel good about, you don't have to do it. And if they're insistent, call me. And that's the beauty about cell phones is now someone can call you on the phone and say, hey, they want me to do such and such. And you can say, no, you don't have to do it. Or you can say, yeah, you do have to clean your room. Or yeah, you do have to put the dishes in the dishwasher or whatever it is. I don't know. But you get the idea of what I'm saying. I think the main thing that I want to get across to you is that we need to have an open communication with our children. We need to be close enough to them that they trust being able to come to us and tell us if something is making them uncomfortable. I've had a couple of my kids come to me and just say, you know, that guy that lives over on the other side of the park, I don't like him. He feels creepy. He seems creepy when he looks at me. I don't like him. I don't like it when he's around. And I'll say, okay, so you don't have to be around him. If, you know, you're out riding your bike or something and you see him out, go on a different street and ride your bike somewhere else. If you're in the store and he comes up to talk to you, be polite, but get away as quickly as you can. Don't go anywhere with him. You know, and when they tell me that someone was creepy, I would be sure that that was not somebody that I would invite into my home. Or if there was an occasion when I needed them to, you know, I don't know, come into my home for whatever reason, like maybe they were, I don't know, a handyman and needed to fix my toilet, I would make sure that I had another adult there with me. I certainly would never have my child there alone. And maybe I'd have another adult there with me when they came, and I'd have my child go over to the neighbors or go play at a friend's house while the work was being done. I just think it's really important that we listen to our kids and that we take into account their own gut feelings and their own perspectives, because a lot of times kids know who is creepy. They know who can be trusted and who can't. Sometimes they don't because the person grooms them and manipulates them, but sometimes they do. And I just think it's really important that we have that open communication with kids. This was a difficult topic to cover. If I have raised any questions or concerns, feel free to leave those either in the comments, or if you want to email me, you can email me at grandma1abuela@gmail.com. That's grandma, the number one, abuela @gmail.com. And I will either do another video answering that question if you feel like you're giving me another good topic for a video, or if it's just a question that you want answered privately, I'll email you back privately. But certainly I want to help in any way that I can. I hope that this video has been helpful, and please subscribe to my videos if you haven't already, and share them with other people. And let's get this going so that I have more people who are aware of this, because a lot of these topics that I cover are things that I feel are very important and are very near and dear to my heart. We want to keep our children safe. We want to keep them happy. And so, yeah, subscribe, email, whatever. This is Grandma Abuela signing out. Bye.